The voice message notification pinged on my phone at 2:47 a.m., and I almost ignored it. Almost. But something about the way my husband Kwame's contact name appeared with that little microphone icon made my heart skip. He was supposed to be in Kumasi on a business trip, 3 hours away from our home in Accra. Why would he send me a voice message this late? What would you do if you walked in on this? Hit like if you've been betrayed, and comment below where you're watching from. I pressed play, expecting to hear his familiar deep voice telling me he missed me, maybe apologizing for not calling earlier. Instead, I heard something that made my blood run cold. "Baby, you feel so good," came Kwame's voice, breathless and urgent. But he wasn't talking to me. In the background, I could hear a woman moaning, her voice high and breathy. "Tell me you love me more than her," the woman whispered, and my world tilted on its axis. "I do, Alma. God, I do. She's just the mother of my children. You're the one I want." The recording went on for 3 more excruciating minutes. 3 minutes of my husband of 12 years making love to another woman, saying things to her that he hadn't said to me in years. The worst part? The woman's voice was familiar. Alma, my younger sister's best friend. The girl who'd been coming to our family gatherings for the past 2 years, who played with our twin daughters Akojwa and Adwa, who called me Big Sister, with that sweet smile. My hand shook as I sat in our king-size bed, surrounded by the Egyptian cotton sheets Kwame had bought me for our anniversary last month. The irony wasn't lost on me. He'd been sleeping with both of us, probably on the same days. I played the message again and again until every word was burned into my memory. The way he told her she was beautiful. The way she giggled when he promised to leave me. The way they both laughed about how clueless I was. By morning, I had made 3 decisions that would change everything. First, I wasn't going to confront him immediately. Second, I was going to find out exactly how long this had been going on. And third, Kwame had no idea what kind of woman he'd just awakened. My name is Efua Mensa, and I had just discovered that my perfect marriage was built on lies. But more than that, I had discovered something about myself that I never knew existed. As I watched the sun rise over Accra's skyline from our bedroom window, I felt something I hadn't felt in years: power. Kwame thought he was clever, juggling 2 women. He thought I was the docile wife who would cry and beg and take him back. He had another thing coming. My phone buzzed with a text from him. "Good morning, my love. Missing you. Business meetings all day. We'll call tonight." I typed back, "Missing you too. Can't wait for you to come home." But as I sent that message, I was already opening my laptop, logging into our joint bank accounts, and taking screenshots of everything. If Kwame wanted to play games, I would show him what it meant to play with a woman who had nothing left to lose. The real question wasn't whether our marriage could survive this betrayal. The real question was whether Kwame would survive what I was about to do to him. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more gripping stories like this. What do you think happens next? Comment below. 24 hours after the voice message that changed everything, I sat in my sister Akua's living room in East Legon, watching her face transform from confusion to horror as I played the recording. "That's Alma's voice," she whispered, her hand flying to cover her mouth. "Oh my God, Efua. That's really Alma." Akua was 2 years younger than me, a successful lawyer with her own practice, and the person I trusted most in the world. If anyone could help me think through this logically, it was her. "How long do you think this has been going on?" I asked, surprised by how calm my voice sounded. Inside, I felt like I was drowning, but something had shifted overnight. The shock had crystallized into something harder, sharper. "She's been different lately," Akua said slowly, pacing her marble living room floor. "More secretive. Always on her phone. and she's been asking questions about you and Kwame. About your marriage, your finances. What kind of questions? Whether you two were happy. Whether Kwame seemed satisfied. She even asked about your house, how much it was worth. Akua's voice grew angry. I thought she was just being nosy. I never imagined. I pulled out my phone and showed her the screenshots I'd taken of our bank accounts. Look at this. For the past 8 months, there have been payments to AM Ventures, 5,000 Sadies each month. I thought it was some business expense. Akua studied the screen. AM. Alma Mensa. She's been taking money from your family to fund her life while sleeping with your husband. The revelation hit like a physical blow. Not only was Kwame cheating on me with my sister's best friend, but he was using our money that should have been going toward our daughter's school fees, our mortgage, our future, to support his mistress. There's more, I said, pulling up WhatsApp. I went through his phone this morning while he was in the shower. I found their chat history going back 10 months. The messages were devastating in their intimacy. Plans for secret trips, complaints about me, promises about their future together. But the worst part was how they talked about our daughters. Alma had written, I can't wait for us to be a real family. The girls will understand eventually that their father deserves to be happy. She's planning to be their stepmother, I said, my voice finally cracking. She thinks she's going to take my place. Akua sat down beside me, pulling me into her arms. What are you going to do? For the first time since hearing that voice message, I smiled. It wasn't a pleasant smile. I'm going to destroy them both. Carefully, methodically, and completely. I had spent 12 years building a life with Kwame. I had supported him through law school, managed his family's expectations when we struggled to get pregnant, stood by him when his father died, and left debts that nearly bankrupted us. I had been the perfect Ghanaian wife, respectful, supportive, sacrificing my own career as a marketing executive to raise our daughters and manage our household. But that woman died at 2:47 a.m. yesterday. The woman sitting in my sister's living room was someone new. Someone who had nothing left to lose and everything to fight for. I need you to help me, I told Akua. Use your legal connections. I want to know everything about Alma's finances, her business dealings, everything. And I need to document everything about Kwame's affair before I make my move. What about the girls? Akua asked gently. Akojua and Adwa were only 8 years old, and they adored their father. They'll be fine. They'll be better than fine once they're away from a man who could treat their mother like this. I stood up, straightening my kid print dress. Kwame thinks he can have his cake and eat it too. He thinks he can keep me as the respectable wife while he plays house with that girl. He's about to learn that I'm not just the mother of his children. I'm the woman who knows where all his bodies are buried. My phone buzzed with another text from Kwame. Can't wait to see you tonight, my queen. This time, I didn't reply. Let him wonder. Let him start to worry. Because tomorrow, I was going to start the most important campaign of my life. And unlike Kwame, I never lost. What do you think Efua should do first? Drop your thoughts in the comments. The Silverbird Cinemas in Accra Mall buzzed with the usual Saturday afternoon crowd when I spotted them. Kwame, who had told me he was playing golf with his business partners, sat in the back row of the romantic comedy showing with Alma curled up against his shoulder like a satisfied cat. I had followed them here after receiving a tip from my new best friend, the private investigator Akua had hired. Detective Inspector Joseph Asandi was retired Ghana Police Service, and he was very, very good at his job. They've been meeting here every Saturday for the past 4 months. He had told me that morning, handing me photos that made my stomach turn. Always the same routine. Movie, then the Kempinski Hotel. Room 405. He pays in cash. Now, watching my husband feed popcorn to my sister's best friend while our daughters were at home with the housekeeper, I felt that familiar surge of cold rage that had become my constant companion. But I wasn't here for a confrontation. Not yet. I was here for evidence. From my seat 5 rows behind them, I took photos and video with the long-range lens Joseph had provided. Every intimate gesture, every kiss, every moment that proved this wasn't just physical. It was emotional betrayal of the deepest kind. When they got up to leave during the credits, I followed at a distance, documenting their walk to his car, their drive to the Kempinski, their check-in at the hotel. Joseph's contact at the hotel, a young man who appreciated good money, had already confirmed they were registered as Mr. and Mrs. Asante. Mr. and Mrs. Asante, using another man's name to hide their domestic betrayal. While they were upstairs playing house, I sat in the hotel lobby, making phone calls that would change everything. "Hello, Mrs. Osei," I said to Alma's landlady. "This is Efua Mensa, Akua's sister. I'm calling about Alma's apartment. Has she been paying her rent on time lately?" What I learned made my blood boil. Alma had been 3 months behind on rent until recently, when suddenly she could afford not just to catch up, but to put down a deposit on a much nicer apartment in Lab 1. The same timing as when the AM Ventures payments had started. My next call was to the Ghana Revenue Authority. As a law-abiding citizen, I felt it was my duty to report suspected tax evasion. After all, if Alma was running a business called AM Ventures, surely she was declaring that income. The third call was to my mother-in-law. "Mama," I said sweetly in Shui, "I need to talk to you about something important. Can you come for dinner tomorrow? Bring Papa too. It's about Kwame." Mama ESI had never particularly liked me, but she lived for family drama, especially when it involved her precious son. She agreed immediately. By the time Kwame came home that evening, smelling like expensive perfume and lies, I had laid the groundwork for his destruction. "How was golf?" I asked, kissing his cheek and tasting Alma's lip gloss. "Great. Shot an 82. Best game all year." He was a good liar. I'd give him that. "I'm so proud of you," I said, leading him to the dining room where I had prepared his favorite meal, palm nut soup with grass cutter and banku. "You work so hard for us. For the family." He actually had the nerve to look guilty for half a second. "I invited your parents for dinner tomorrow," I continued, serving him. "I thought it would be nice to have family time." "Tomorrow? Why didn't you ask me first?" "It's just dinner, baby. What could go wrong?" Oh, if he only knew. That night, as he slept beside me, probably dreaming of Alma, I finalized my plans. Tomorrow, the Mensa family would learn exactly what kind of man Kwame really was. And Alma would discover that being the other woman wasn't quite as glamorous as she thought. But first, I had one more card to play. I picked up my phone and scrolled through my contacts until I found the number I needed. "Hello, Sister Clara? It's Efua. I have some information you might find interesting about your son-in-law." Clara was Alma's mother, a deeply religious woman who led the women's ministry at her church and had very strong opinions about moral behavior. This conversation was going to be very illuminating. What was I going to tell Kwame's parents? Share your predictions in the comments, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more jaw-dropping stories. Sunday dinner at the Mensa household had always been a formal affair, but tonight felt different. The mahogany dining table gleamed under the crystal chandelier, set with our best china, the wedding set that 12 years ago had symbolized hope and forever promises. Kwame's parents, Joseph and ESI Mensa, sat across from us like judges at a tribunal. Mama ESI wore her finest Kent cloth, her gold jewelry catching the light as she moved. Papa Joseph, retired headmaster turned family patriarch, commanded respect even in silence. "The girls look beautiful, Mama." "Yes," I said, watching 8-year-old Akojua and Adwa play in the garden through the glass doors. "They're growing so fast." "They are," I agreed, serving the Contamire stew I'd spent all afternoon preparing. "It's important they see what a strong marriage looks like, what commitment means." Kwame shifted uncomfortably beside me. He'd been on edge all day, probably wondering why I was being so affectionate, so attentive. "Speaking of commitment," I continued, my voice steady as I looked directly at my husband, "I wanted to share something with the family. Something that affects all of us." The room went quiet except for the soft clink of cutlery against plates. "Kwame has been working so hard lately. So many business trips. So many late nights." I reached over and took his hand, feeling how his palm had gone sweaty. "He's been supporting someone through a very difficult time." "Oh." Papa Joseph raised an eyebrow. "Business partner?" "Something like that." I smiled. "Actually, she's a young lady we know. Alma Mensa, no relation, of course. She's Akua's friend. Kwame has been so generous, helping her with her financial difficulties." Kwame's hand went rigid in mine, but he couldn't pull away without making a scene in front of his parents. "How generous?" "Mama, yes," I said, her voice carrying that particular tone that meant she smelled scandal. "Oh, yes. 5,000 sadies a month for the past 8 months. Such a kind heart my husband has." The silence stretched like a taut wire. Papa Joseph set down his fork. 5,000 sadies a month?" he repeated slowly. "To a girl who is not family." "Well," I said brightly, "Kwame says she's like family now. Very close to his heart. Isn't that right, darling?" Kwame's face had gone ashen. In traditional Ghanaian culture, a married man supporting a young woman who wasn't family could only mean one thing. "Afua," he started, but I continued as if he hadn't spoken. "And the sweetest part is how grateful she is. She sends him the most loving messages. Here, let me show you." I pulled out my phone and began reading from their WhatsApp chat, my voice bright and conversational. "My love, I can't wait until we don't have to hide anymore. Last night was amazing. You make me feel things I never knew existed." "Mama, yes," I gasped, her hand flying to her chest. Papa Joseph's face turned to stone. "Afua, stop," Kwame said desperately. "Oh, but there's more," I continued. "Listen to this one. Thank you for the money, baby. Your wife will never know how you're taking care of me. She's so clueless about what a real man needs." The crash of Papa Joseph's chair hitting the floor echoed through the dining room as he stood up, his face dark with fury. "Kwame," he thundered in Twi, "what is this shameful behavior? What have you done to your family?" "Papa, I can't explain." "Explain?" Mama Yesai's voice was shrill with rage. "Explain how you're giving another woman money that should feed your children. Explain how you're disgracing our family name." This was going better than I had hoped. In Ghanaian culture, bringing shame upon the family was the worst possible offense, especially in front of the elders. "And the most beautiful part," I said, my voice finally showing a hint of the steel beneath the sweetness, "is that yesterday Alma's mother's sister Clara called me. Apparently someone told her about her daughter's business arrangement. She's very upset, very disappointed. She's planning to address it publicly in church next Sunday." Kwame looked like he might vomit. A public shaming in church would destroy both their reputations irreparably. "The funny thing is," I continued, standing up slowly, "I never told Sister Clara anything. But someone did. Someone who cared enough about moral behavior to make sure the truth came out." Papa Joseph turned to his son with disappointment etched in every line of his face. "Pack your things," he said quietly. "You will not spend another night under this roof until you have fixed what you have broken." Papa, please. You heard your father. Mama, yes, I said, tears of shame streaming down her cheeks. How could you do this? How could you bring such disgrace on us all? As Kwame stumbled upstairs to pack, his phone started ringing. I glanced at the screen. Alma. Aren't you going to answer that? I asked sweetly. I'm sure she's heard about her mother's plans by now. But the ringing stopped, and I heard something that made my smile widen. A voice message notification. This time, it wasn't an accident. What do you think Alma said in that voice message? And what's Efua's next move? Let me know in the comments below. The voice message from Alma was even more satisfying than I had hoped. Her voice was raw with tears and panic. Kwame, we have a problem. My mother knows everything. She's planning to shame me in front of the entire congregation next Sunday. She's talking about sending me back to the village, about disowning me. You have to fix this. You promised you would handle your wife. You promised. I played it for Kwame as he stood in our bedroom doorway with his hastily packed suitcase, his parents having already left in disgust. How did you? He started. How did I what? I asked innocently. Figure out that you've been playing house with a 25-year-old girl while your daughters think their daddy is working late? How did I discover that you've been using our children's school fee money to fund your midlife crisis? It's not like that, he said weakly. No? Then tell me what it's like, Kwame. Tell me how a 42-year-old man accidentally ends up inside his wife's sister's best friend. Tell me how 5,000 sadies a month accidentally leaves our account and lands in hers. He sat heavily on the edge of the bed we'd shared for 12 years, his head in his hands. I didn't mean for this to happen. Oh, but you did. I opened my laptop and showed him the folder labeled Evidence. Screenshots, photos, hotel receipts, bank transfers, phone records. This didn't happen accidentally, Kwame. This was a choice you made every single day for 10 months. Efua, I'm sorry. I know I messed up, but we can fix this. We can go to counseling, we can. We. I laughed, and the sound was cold even to my own ears. There is no we anymore. There's you, there's your girlfriend, and there's me and my daughters. They're my daughters too. Are they? Because daughters need fathers who show them what a good man looks like. What does it teach Akojua and Adwa when their father cheats on their mother? What does it tell them about their own worth as women? His phone rang again. Alma. Answer it, I commanded. Put it on speaker. Efua. Answer it. With shaking hands, he accepted the call. Kwame. Alma's voice filled the room, high and desperate. Where are you? Why aren't you answering my texts? My mother is going crazy. She's saying the most horrible things. She found out about the money, about us, about everything. Alma, I can't talk right now. What do you mean you can't talk? Kwame, you promised me we would be together. You said you were going to leave her. You said... He said a lot of things. I interrupted, leaning over to speak into the phone. Hello, Alma. It's Efua. I think we should talk. The silence on the other end was deafening. Sister Efua, she finally whispered. I can explain. Oh, I'm sure you can. Just like you can explain how you looked me in the eye at family gatherings while sleeping with my husband. Just like you can explain how you played with my daughters knowing you were planning to replace their mother. It's not. It wasn't supposed to happen this way. No. How was it supposed to happen? Were you planning to wait until after you broke up my marriage to tell me? Or were you just going to let me figure it out when Kwame moved you into our house? Efua, please let me. Kwame tried to intervene. You've said enough. I snapped at him. Alma, since you're so interested in my husband, let me tell you what kind of man you've won. He's the kind of man who will lie to his wife for 10 months. He's the kind of man who will use his children's school fees to pay for hotel rooms. He's the kind of man who will promise to leave his family, but won't even answer your phone calls when things get difficult. That's not true, she protested weakly. Isn't it? Where is he right now, Alma? Is he rushing to your side to protect you from your mother's wrath? Or is he standing in his wife's bedroom with a suitcase, begging for forgiveness? Another silence. I'll tell you what, I continued. Since you two want each other so badly, you can have each other. But you're going to have each other with nothing. No money, no reputation, and no respect. Because tomorrow morning, I'm filing for divorce. And I'm going to make sure everyone in Accra knows exactly what kind of people you both are. Afua, you can't, Kwame started. I can and I will. Your parents were just the beginning, Kwame. Wait until your law firm hears about this. Wait until the partners discover that their junior associate has been embezzling family funds to support his mistress. Wait until your clients learn they've been trusting their legal matters to a man who can't even honor the most basic promise he made to his own wife. The phone in Kwame's hand was trembling. You have until tomorrow morning to decide what you want to do with your life, I told them both. But whatever you decide, you'll be doing it without my money, without my support, and without my silence. I ended the call and looked at my husband, soon-to-be ex-husband, with something that might have been pity. 12 years, I said softly. 12 years I loved you. 12 years I built a life with you. And you threw it all away for a girl who's younger than your marriage. As he walked toward the door with his suitcase, I called after him. Oh, and Kwame, check your bank account in the morning. You'll find it very educational. The front door slammed behind him, and for the first time in 10 months, I was alone in my house. But I didn't feel lonely. I felt free. Tomorrow, the real work would begin. What do you think Afua did to Kwame's bank account? Drop your theories below and smash that like button if you're Team Afua. The notification from the bank came at exactly 9 a.m. Monday morning, just as I was braiding Adwoa's hair for school. Kwame's panic call followed 30 seconds later. Afua, what did you do to our accounts? Good morning to you too, I said cheerfully, securing my daughter's hair with colorful beads. Are you having some banking issues? You know exactly what I'm talking about. The money's gone. All of it. Oh, that. I kissed Adwoa's forehead and sent her off to join her sister for breakfast. I moved our joint savings to an account in my name only. For the children's protection, you understand. You can't do that. Actually, I can. As joint account holder, I have every right to protect our family's assets when I discover they're being misused. My lawyer confirmed it. The silence on the other end told me he was calculating exactly how much money I'd moved. 300,000 cedis in savings, plus the money market account, plus the children's education fund that he'd been dipping into for his affair. That's not legally yours, he said finally. Neither was the 50,000 cedis you've given to your girlfriend over the past 10 months, but that didn't stop you. I walked to my home office, where I'd spent the weekend organizing documents. Don't worry, darling. I'm not being unreasonable. I've calculated exactly what you owe the family for your extracurricular expenses. Pay that back, and we can discuss access to marital assets. 50,000? Plus interest? Afua, I don't have that kind of money. Then perhaps you should ask Alma for a loan. I'm sure she's saved some of what you've been giving her. Another silence, longer this time. I spoke to a lawyer, he said, trying to sound threatening. This isn't over. I'm sure you did. Was it one of your firm's lawyers? Because that might be complicated, considering what I've already told the managing partners about your situation. You didn't. Oh, but I did. Such a lovely conversation with Mr. Ashon this morning. He was very interested to hear about your creative accounting methods. Apparently, mixing personal and business expenses is frowned upon in legal circles. Who knew? The truth was, I hadn't called his law firm yet. But I would. Right after I finished the call, I was really looking forward to. Efua, please. Think about the girls. Think about our family. I am thinking about them. I'm thinking about how they deserve better than a father who models infidelity and financial irresponsibility. I'm thinking about how they need to see their mother stand up for herself instead of accepting betrayal. This is revenge. Pure and simple. No, Kwame. This is consequences. There's a difference. After he hung up, I made my second call of the day. Good morning. This is Efua Mensah calling for Mr. Ashong, please. It's regarding Kwame Mensah's situation. While I waited for the managing partner of Ashong and Associates to come to the phone, I reviewed my notes. Kwame was a junior associate at one of Accra's most prestigious law firms, a firm that prided itself on integrity and moral standing. Learning that one of their lawyers was involved in an adultery scandal that included financial mismanagement would not reflect well on their reputation. Mrs. Mensah, came the familiar voice of Charles Ashong, a man I'd met several times at firm social events. I understand there are some irregularities we need to discuss regarding your husband. I'm afraid so, Mr. Ashong. I discovered that Kwame has been using family funds for personal expenses that could be considered ethically questionable. I have documentation if you'd like to review it. That would be appropriate. Can you come in this afternoon? Of course. I'll bring everything. The third call was to Detective Inspector Asante. Good morning, Inspector. I need you to serve some papers today. Divorce petition, restraining order, and a few other documents. Where can I find Mr. Mensah? I smiled. Try the Kempinski Hotel. Room 405. If he's not there, his girlfriend's new apartment in Lab 1 should work. Understood. Will you be wanting photographs of the service? Oh, yes. Definitely. My phone rang as I was getting dressed for my appointment with Kwame's boss. Akua's name appeared on the screen. Sister, how are you holding up? I'm perfect, I said and meant it. Never better. I heard about yesterday. Mama told me about the dinner. She's very proud of how you handled it. It was time everyone knew the truth. There's something else, Akua said, her voice serious. I did some digging into Alma's background. The business she registered? AM Ventures? It's a front. She's been using it to launder money, not just from Kwame, but from other married men too. The information hit me like electricity. Other men? 3 that I can confirm. All married, all prominent. She's been running a very sophisticated operation. This was better than I had dared to hope. Alma wasn't just a homewrecker. She was a criminal. Give me everything, I said. Names, amounts, dates. Everything. Already on it. But Efua, be careful. If she's as calculating as this evidence suggests, she won't go down without a fight. As if summoned by our conversation, my doorbell rang. Through the security camera, I could see a young woman I didn't recognize, professionally dressed, nervous-looking. I have to go, I told Akua. Someone's here. I opened the door to find the woman shifting anxiously from foot to foot. Mrs. Mensah? My name is Grace Osei. I think we need to talk. It's about Alma Mensah and your husband. My day had just gotten very interesting. Please come in, I said, stepping aside. I have a feeling this conversation is going to be very enlightening. What do you think Grace wants to tell Efua? And how will Kwame react to being served with divorce papers? Let me know your predictions below, and don't forget to subscribe for the next explosive chapter. Grace Osei sat in my living room, like a bird ready to take flight, her hands clutching a manila envelope so tightly her knuckles had gone white. "I don't know how to say this," she began, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I think my husband is also involved with Alma." The words hung in the air like smoke, and I felt that familiar surge of cold satisfaction. Not because another woman was suffering, I wouldn't wish this betrayal on anyone, but because it confirmed what Acua had discovered. Alma was running a systematic operation. "Tell me everything," I said gently, pouring her a cup of tea with steady hands. Grace was about my age, maybe 35, with the kind of quiet beauty that spoke of confidence and self-respect. She wore a simple but elegant dress, her wedding ring catching the morning light streaming through my windows. "My husband is Dr. Emmanuel Osei. He runs the cardiology department at Korobu." Her voice shook slightly. 3 months ago, I noticed changes. Late nights, secret phone calls, unexplained expenses. How did you find out about Alma? The same way you did, I think. A mistake. Emmanuel thought he was texting her, but he sent the message to me instead. It was explicit. She pulled photos from the envelope, screenshots of text messages that made my stomach turn. The same loving language, the same promises, the same requests for money that I'd seen in Kwame's phone. "But it gets worse," Grace continued. "When I confronted him, he broke down and told me everything. Alma didn't just seduce him, she targeted him specifically. She knew about his work, his income, his schedule. She researched him like a project. How long has it been going on? 8 months. Same as your situation, I think. She takes 5,000 sadies from him every month too, plus gifts, plus payments for her rent, her car, her clothes." Grace's voice grew stronger with anger. "She's been bleeding our family dry while pretending to love him." I pulled out my phone and showed Grace the screenshots of Kwame's payments to AM Ventures. "She's using the same company name for all of us," I said. "Very professional." "There's more," Grace said, her voice dropping again. "Emmanuel told me there are others. At least 2 more men than he knows of. She keeps photos of all of them on her phone, not romantic photos, but surveillance photos. Pictures of their houses, their cars, their families." The revelation sent ice through my veins. This wasn't just adultery or even financial fraud. This was something much more calculated, much more dangerous. "I think she's blackmailing them," Grace whispered. "Emmanuel said she sometimes threatens to tell their wives or their employers if they don't give her what she wants." "Has she threatened him directly?" "Not yet. But he's terrified she will. He keeps paying her because he thinks it's easier than dealing with the consequences." I set down my teacup, my mind racing. If Alma was running a blackmail operation targeting prominent married men, then Kwame wasn't just an unfaithful husband. He was a victim of a crime. A victim who had still chosen to betray his family, but a victim nonetheless. "Grace," I said carefully, "are you willing to work with me to stop her?" Her eyes met mine, and I saw the same steel that I'd discovered in myself. "What did you have in mind?" "We're going to expose everything. Her operation, her other victims, all of it. But we need to be smart about it." I pulled out the business card Detective Inspector Asante had given me. "I have a private investigator. If we can prove she's running an organized blackmail scheme, this becomes a criminal matter, not just a domestic dispute." Grace nodded slowly. "Emmanuel will cooperate. He's terrified, but he'll tell the truth if it means stopping her." "What about the other men? Do you know who they are?" "One is a government minister. The other owns a chain of hotels. Emmanuel didn't tell me their names, but I think I can find out." My phone buzzed with a text from Detective Inspector Asante. "Papers served. Subject was indeed at hotel with target. Photos obtained. Interesting reaction. Subject seemed more angry than surprised." I showed the message to Grace. Kwame just got served with divorce papers. If Alma is as controlling as you say, she's not going to like losing her most reliable source of income. What do you think she'll do? Before I could answer, both our phones started ringing simultaneously. Grace looked at her screen and paled. It's Emmanuel. Mine showed Kwame's contact. And there's my soon-to-be ex-husband. We answered at the same time. F you. Kwame's voice was frantic, urgent. You need to listen to me. Alma is dangerous. More dangerous than we thought. On Grace's phone, I could hear her husband's panicked voice saying almost the same words. She has photos, Kwame continued. Photos of me, of the hotel, of us together. She's threatening to send them to everyone, your family, my firm, the children's school. She wants 100,000 Sadies to keep quiet. Grace ended her call and looked at me with wide eyes. Emmanuel says the same thing. She's demanding money from him too, threatening to destroy his medical practice. When does she want it? I asked Kwame. Tonight. She wants both of us to meet her at the Movenpick Hotel at 8 p.m., or she goes public with everything. I looked at Grace, and she nodded. Tell her we'll be there, I said to Kwame. Both couples. Tell her we want to discuss terms. Afua, what are you planning? I'm planning to give Alma exactly what she deserves. After I hung up, Grace gripped my hand. Are you sure about this? Very sure. But first, we need to make some calls. This ends tonight. I dialed Detective Inspector Asante. Inspector, I need you to contact the police. We have a blackmail operation to shut down, and I have a plan. What kind of plan, Mrs. Mensah? The kind that's going to put Alma Mensah behind bars where she belongs. What do you think Efua's plan is? How will she turn the tables on Alma? Drop your predictions in the comments. The Movenpick Hotel's restaurant hummed with quiet conversation and clinking silverware as Grace and I arrived at exactly 8 p.m. We had chosen a corner table with a clear view of the entrance, and Detective Inspector Asante's team was already in position, his men disguised as hotel staff and dining guests. Kwame and Dr. Emmanuel Osei sat at separate tables, both looking like condemned men. They had no idea what was about to unfold. Alma made her entrance at 8:15, fashionably late as always. She wore a stunning red dress that probably cost more than most people's monthly salary, paid for, no doubt, with money stolen from the family she'd destroyed. Her confidence was palpable as she surveyed the restaurant like a queen reviewing her subjects. She spotted Kwame first, then Dr. Osei, and finally her eyes landed on Grace and me. For just a moment, her composure cracked. She hadn't expected us to be there together. But she recovered quickly, walking over to our table with that same sweet smile she'd worn to family gatherings. Sister Efua, she said, her voice saccharine. And Grace. How lovely to see you both. Sit down, Alma, I said quietly. We have a lot to discuss. She slid into the chair across from us, and I could see her mind working, calculating her next move. I assume your husband's told you why we're here, she began, but I cut her off. Actually, I think you misunderstand the situation. I placed a thick folder on the table between us. We're not here to negotiate with you, Alma. We're here to arrest you. Her eyes flicked to the folder, then back to my face. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't you? Grace leaned forward, her voice steady. We know about all of them, Alma. Minister Apia from the Ministry of Health. Mr. Teta, who owns the Gold Coast hotel chain. How many others are there? 6? 7? Alma's mask began to slip. You can't prove anything. I opened the folder and spread out photographs, bank records, phone transcripts, hotel receipts, everything Detective Inspector Asante had gathered over the past week. AM Ventures, I said calmly. registered as a consulting business, but actually operating as an escort and blackmail service. Systematic targeting of wealthy married men, sexual entrapment, followed by ongoing financial extortion. 5,000 sadies per month from each victim, Grace added, plus bonuses for special occasions and silence money when they try to leave. Alma's eyes darted around the restaurant, and I knew she was looking for exits. This is harassment. I could have you arrested. Actually, you couldn't. I pulled out my phone and showed her the recording app that had been running since she sat down. Because everything you say here is being recorded and transmitted directly to the Ghana Police Service Economic and Organized Crime Office. The color drained from her face. You see, Alma, blackmail is a criminal offense in Ghana. Extortion carries a minimum sentence of 5 years in prison. And when it's organized crime involving multiple victims and systematic financial fraud. I shrugged. Well, let's just say you won't be seeing the outside of Sawam prison for a very long time. You're bluffing. Am I? I gestured slightly, and Detective Inspector Asante approached our table, flanked by 2 uniformed police officers. Alma Mensa, he said formally, pulling out handcuffs. You're under arrest for extortion, blackmail, financial fraud, and operating an illegal enterprise. You have the right to remain silent. The restaurant had gone completely quiet. Every eye was on our table as Alma was cuffed, her red dress suddenly looking more like a costume than a power outfit. This isn't over, she hissed at me as they led her away. You have no idea what I'm capable of. Actually, I do, I called after her. That's why you're being charged with criminal threatening as well. As the police escorted Alma out, I turned to see Kwame and Dr. Osei staring at us in shock. Grace's husband rushed over to our table. Is it really over? Emmanuel asked, his voice shaking. It's over, Grace said firmly, taking his hand. But we have a lot to talk about. Kwame approached more slowly, his face a mix of relief and shame. Thank you, he said quietly. I know I don't deserve your help, but thank you for stopping her. I didn't do it for you, I replied. I did it for every woman whose husband she would have targeted next. For every family she would have destroyed. Efua, can we talk? About us, about the girls, about... No. I stood up, gathering my purse. We can't. The criminal matter is resolved, Kwame, but the domestic betrayal remains. You still chose to cheat on me. You still chose to lie to me for 10 months. You still chose to use our children's money to fund your affair. But if she was manipulating me, if she targeted me, she didn't force you to respond to her advances. She didn't force you to lie to me. She didn't force you to steal from our family. I looked at him with something that might have been pity. Alma is a criminal, Kwame. But you're still an adulterer. Grace stood beside me, her arm linked through mine in solidarity. The divorce proceedings continue as planned, I told him. Our lawyers will be in touch. As we walked out of the restaurant together, Grace squeezed my arm. What happens now? Now we rebuild, I said, feeling lighter than I had in months. We take back our lives, protect our children, and show them what strong women look like. Behind us, I could hear Kwame calling my name, but I didn't turn around. That part of my life was over. The real question was what came next. Will Efua and Kwame find a way back to each other? What happens to their daughters? Find out in the next chapter, and don't forget to like and subscribe. 6 weeks later, I stood in the family court in Accra, watching Judge Patricia Ofori review the final divorce decree. The mahogany-paneled courtroom felt surreal. This sterile, official space where a 12-year marriage would be legally dissolved with the stroke of a pen. Kwame sat across the aisle with his lawyer, looking older than his 42 years. The past month and a half had not been kind to him. Alma's arrest had made headlines in the Daily Graphic. Society blackmailer exposed, and his name had been prominently featured. His law firm had placed him on indefinite suspension pending internal review. His parents had barely spoken to him since our dinner revelation. But it was the impact on our daughters that had broken my heart the most. "Mama," 8-year-old Akojua had asked just last week, "why doesn't Daddy live with us anymore?" How do you explain adult failures to a child? How do you tell your daughter that her father chose another woman over his family without destroying her ability to trust men in the future? "Sometimes adults make mistakes that hurt the people they love," I had told her. "Daddy still loves you and Adwoa very much, but Mama and Daddy can't live together anymore." "Is it because of the mean lady who made Daddy sad?" Even at 8 years old, Akojua was perceptive. She had overheard enough conversations to understand that another woman was involved, though she didn't grasp the full extent of the betrayal. "Daddy made his own choices, sweetheart. Nobody can make us do things we don't want to do." Now, as Judge Ofori read through the settlement terms, I wondered if I was making the right choice for my daughters. "Mrs. Mensah will retain primary custody of the minor children," the judge announced. "Mr. Mensah will have supervised visitation rights every other weekend, to be reviewed after 6 months of consistent compliance with child support obligations." Supervised visitation. It sounded so clinical, so cold. But I had insisted on it after learning the full extent of Alma's operation. If Kwame had been so easily manipulated by one woman, how could I trust his judgment around our daughters? "Mr. Mensah will pay child support in the amount of 3,000 cedis per month, plus school fees, medical expenses, and 1/2 of all extracurricular activities." 3,000 cedis. Less than he had been paying his mistress. "The marital home located in East Legan will remain with Mrs. Mensah and the children. Mr. Mensah's share of equity will be offset against the 50,000 cedis in marital funds that were misappropriated during the marriage." That was my lawyer's polite way of saying Kwame had to pay back every cedi he'd given to Alma before he could claim any assets. "All joint bank accounts will be dissolved, with funds distributed according to the agreed settlement. Mrs. Mensah will retain full ownership of the Children's Education Trust Fund." As the judge continued reading, I felt a mixture of relief and sadness. Relief that this chapter of my life was finally, legally closed. Sadness that it had come to this at all. After the hearing, Kwame approached me in the courthouse hallway. "Afua, can we talk? Just for a minute?" His lawyer and mine stepped aside to give us privacy, though I noticed mine stayed close enough to intervene if necessary. "What is it, Kwame? I know I have no right to ask this," he began, his voice hoarse. "But I need you to know that I never meant for any of this to happen. I never meant to hurt you or the girls. But you did hurt us. Every day for 10 months, you made choices that hurt us. I know that now. I've been seeing a therapist, trying to understand how I could have been so stupid, so selfish." He looked at me with eyes that seemed genuinely remorseful. "She says I was going through some kind of midlife crisis, that Alma knew exactly how to exploit my insecurities. And what do you want me to say to that, Kwame? That it's okay? That it wasn't your fault? No. I want you to know that I take full responsibility for what I did. I want you to know that I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to be the father Akojua and Adwoa deserve, even if I can never be the husband you deserved." Despite everything, despite all the pain and betrayal and anger, I felt a softening in my chest. This was the man I had fallen in love with 12 years ago. Not the perfect man, but the honest one. "The girls need their father," I said finally. "A better version of their father. Can you be that man? I'm going to try. Every day, I'm going to try." We stood in silence for a moment, and I realized this was probably the last real conversation we would ever have as husband and wife. "What will you do now?" I asked. Find a new job. Rebuild my reputation. Try to earn back some respect. He paused. What about you? For the first time in weeks, I smiled. I'm starting my own marketing consultancy. I already have 3 clients lined up. That's wonderful, Fua. You always were brilliant at that. As we walked toward the courthouse exit, my phone buzzed with a text from Grace Osei. How did it go? Coffee later? Grace and I had become close friends over the past 6 weeks, bonded by our shared experience and our determination to rebuild our lives. Her husband had entered intensive therapy, and they were working toward reconciliation, though it would be a long road. I have to go, I told Kwame. The girls are expecting me to pick them up from school. Tell them I love them. You can tell them yourself on Saturday. Supervised visitation starts this weekend. As I walked away from the courthouse, and from my marriage, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months. Hope. My phone rang as I reached my car. Unknown number. Hello? Mrs. Mensah? This is Officer Priscilla Asani from Salem Prison. I'm calling to inform you that inmate Amma Mensah has been making threats against you during her incarceration. We thought you should be aware. The cold feeling in my stomach told me that this story wasn't over yet. What kind of threats is Amma making? How will this affect Fua's new beginning? Comment your thoughts below. The letter arrived on a Thursday morning, slipped under my door while I was getting the girls ready for school. My name was written across the front in Amma's distinctive handwriting, the same elegant script she'd used to sign birthday cards for my daughters. Mama, what's that? Adwa asked, noticing my hand shaking as I held the envelope. Nothing important, sweetheart. Go brush your teeth. But as I read the letter after dropping the girls at school, I knew it was very important indeed. Fua, you think you've won, but this is far from over. I know things about your precious husband that would destroy what's left of his reputation. I know things about you too. Did you really think I spent 10 months with Kwame without learning all your family secrets? I'll be out of here soon. My lawyer is very good, and when I am, we're going to have a proper conversation about compensation for what you've cost me. Give my regards to Akojwa and Adwoa. Such beautiful girls. I hope nothing unfortunate happens to disrupt their safe little world. Your sister in Christ, Amma. The threat against my daughter sent ice through my veins, but it was the reference to family secrets that truly worried me. What could she possibly know? I called Detective Inspector Asante immediately. She's not supposed to have access to writing materials, he said grimly after I read him the letter. Someone's helping her from inside the prison. Can you find out who? I'll investigate. In the meantime, I'm assigning protection to you and the girls. This woman is clearly unhinged. That afternoon, I sat in my lawyer's office trying to understand how Amma could threaten us from behind bars. Her bail hearing is next week, Margaret Asante, no relation to the detective, explained. Her family has hired Yaw Asante, one of the best criminal defense lawyers in Ghana. They're claiming she was coerced by the men involved, that she's actually a victim of sexual exploitation. That's ridiculous. Is it? Think about it from a legal perspective. A young woman, financially desperate, approached by older, powerful married men. A good lawyer could argue she was manipulated into illegal activity by men who should have known better. The reality hit me like a physical blow. Amma might not just get out of prison. She might get out as a sympathetic figure, while Kwame and the other men were painted as predators. There's something else, Margaret continued. I did some digging into her background, like you asked. Amma Mensah isn't who she claims to be. She slid a folder across the desk. Inside were documents I'd never seen before. Her real name is Christiana Boaji. She's from Kumasi, not Accra. And this isn't her first time running a scheme like this. The photograph showed a younger version of Amma, Same face, different name, different hair. Police reports from Kumasi detailed a similar operation targeting married businessmen 3 years earlier. She'd escaped prosecution, then, by disappearing before charges could be filed. "She's a professional," I whispered, staring at the evidence. "This was never about love or even money. This was her job. There's more. The woman calling herself Alma Mensa has been living under a false identity for over 2 years. Identity theft, document fraud, these are federal offenses that carry significant prison time." My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Check your email. Time to negotiate. AM." With shaking fingers, I opened my email. What I found there made me understand why Alma was so confident about her upcoming bail hearing. Photos. Dozens of them. Pictures of Kwame at family events. Pictures of me at work. Pictures of my daughters at school. But worse than the surveillance photos were the others, images that had clearly been doctored to make it appear as if I had been aware of and complicit in Kwame's affair. Fake screenshots of text messages between Alma and me, supposedly arranging meetings and discussing payment schedules. Fabricated emails where I appeared to be helping coordinate the affair. Digital evidence that could be very convincing to someone who didn't know better. "She's going to claim I was running the operation," I told Margaret, showing her the phone. "She's going to say I was pimping out my own husband and taking a cut of the profits." "That's actually brilliant," Margaret said grudgingly. "Morally repugnant, but legally brilliant. If she can make this case about a conspiracy between spouses to defraud innocent men, she becomes the victim instead of the perpetrator." My second phone, the one the girls didn't know about, rang. Detective Inspector Asante. "Mrs. Mensa, we have a problem. Alma Mensa was released on bail an hour ago." "She's in the wind." "What do you mean released? Her hearing isn't until next week. Emergency bail hearing. Her lawyer claimed she was receiving death threats in prison and needed immediate protection." The judge agreed. I looked out Margaret's office window at the busy across street below, suddenly feeling like every shadow might be hiding a threat. "Where are my daughters?" "Safe. My team picked them up from school and took them to the safe house. You need to come now." As I rushed out of the law office, my mind raced through everything that had led to this moment. I had thought I was so clever, so in control. I had thought I was getting justice for myself and protecting other families. But I had underestimated my opponent. Alma, or Christiana, or whatever her real name was, had been playing this game much longer than I had. And now she was free, dangerous, and had nothing left to lose. My phone buzzed one final time as I got in my car. "The girls are beautiful when they sleep. Sweet dreams, sister. We'll talk soon." The war wasn't over. It was just beginning. But this time, I wasn't fighting for my marriage or my pride. I was fighting for my daughters' lives. And I would not lose.